Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today in Masechtas Taanit daf Chaf, we are going to begin on Chaf Amud Aleph, about 15 lines from the top, or the second wide line. Tanaban, Shloisha Kadmu Lahem Chama Ba'avuron. There was actually three people that caused the sun to stop so that it would not set before its time. Moshe Yehoshua ben Akdim ben Gurion. So Bishlam and ben Gurion Gemara. So we already heard that traditional story on the previous daf. Yehoshua Nami Kra. It's a pasuk. Dechsib v'yidom hashemesh v'yareach aman. So it clearly says that the sun stopped. El Moshe Manolam. So Omer Rabbi Lazar Asya Achel. There's a Gzer Shava. Ksiv Hacha. It says over here. Achel teis pachtacha. He'll begin to place your fear upon you. Uksiv hasam, it's written over there, Achel gadelcha. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani oimer asya teis taste. Gzer shav of taste. Ksiv hachel achel teis pachtacha. Ksiv hasam b'yoyim teis Hashem esrem moiri. Rabbi Yochanan oimer asya meguf dikra. From the pasuk itself, it says, "Asher yishmun shemacha v'rugzu b'chol mipanecha." So he must say rugzu b'chol mipanecha b'shah shenekadmu lechamu l'Moshe. So when was the time when there was this fear? Is the time in which the sun stopped. And this is question 4, which asks, "Mihem shenekadmu chama ba'avuram." So of course, Nakdim ben Gurion, the famous story, as well as Moshe and Yeshua. So if you have a city in which there's no rain that has fallen, so that is reason that you have to cry out. On this, the Gemara says, Omer Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, Ushtehen l'klala. Both of them, it's a curse. The one in which it rained and one that it didn't rain. And the reason why is it a klala? I can understand if it doesn't rain for you, but why is it when it does rain? So Rashi says, Shneim l'klala, oyster shiyamter leha rav geshamim. There was so much rain, shmekalkulin esatvu, it ruined the food. There's shalo yamter and geshamim, obviously because there was no rain, that was a problem. So this is actually telling us there was a klala. It's also a klala for those who actually had the rain as well. Okay. The pasuk says, Haisa Yerushalayim lenida. We say in Eicha that Yerushalayim is like a nida, which is off limits. So b'neihem. So Rabbi Yehuda Marav levracha. Even though obviously it's sad that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, but it's like a nida. Kinida, ma nida yeshla heter of Yerushalayim yeshla takana. So even though right now a woman who is a nida, a man is not allowed to have tashmish with, he has to distance himself. Hashem also distanced himself from Yerushalayim, but that's only temporary. Eventually that husband will go back to his wife. Eventually Hashem will come back to us. Haisa ka'almana. It says that it's like a widow. So Omer Rabbi Yehuda levrocha ki'almana v'lo mamish. It's not like a widow. A widow, the husband died and there's no resuscitation. El ki'isha shahov balav niziyam v'dait l'achsaleha. The husband went away, but he's going to come back. Pasuk says v'gama ninosati yeschem nivzim ushfalayim. Say also give to you those who are low down and the downtrodden. Or maybe who the lavracha the loy mukmi minan loreishi nahare v'loy gazizripati. That will not make us tax collectors or those individuals who are overseeing these rivers to collect taxes. V'hika Hashem es Israel kasher yonu dakana b'mayim. That Hashem will hit the Jewish people just like the shaking of the reed in the water. So Rabbi Yehuda Amar Levracha. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yonasan. The pasuk says ne'emanim pitze oihev, that trustworthy are those who love the wounds. V'nataros nishikos, and those who are kissed. So what is that referring to? Saini taivel avracha, saini taivel klala shekile lachi hashilaini. Saini. So taiva better is the klala that Achi Hashilaini gave as Israel. Yosem bracha sheberchen bil marasha. It's very interesting. Even though it's a curse, it's actually better than the blessing that Bil Marasha gave. Why? Achi Hashilaini kiloin bikana. He cursed us with a reed. Amr Hemli Yisrael v'hika Hashem es Yisrael kasher yalnud hakana. That we're just going to be like this reed. Makana zeh oyin b'makamayim, but it stands in a place where there's water. V'giz oyin machlif, and it can regenerate itself. Shirashim merubin has a lot of roots. If you kol ruchos shiba oilim bois, even if all the winds of the world come, the noishvasmon pushes it in mazizus oisimim kaimo. It will not move from its place. Elohoyachavoyimahem. Rather, it's going to kind of sway with it, right, where it's flexible. Once the wind stops, we go back to our original place. So when it comes to the Klal Yisrael, we may be pushed around, but we're never uprooted completely. He blessed us that we're like cedar. It doesn't stand by water. Says Rashi, what do you mean? It says alimayim. What do you mean it doesn't grow? It's not by water. So Rashi says, the bilam oimer karozim. All he said was arazim. V'amalach heshibu alimayim. But a malach said alimayim to be able to cushion his words. The engiz omachlif doesn't regenerate itself. Ein shirashim merubin doesn't have a lot of roots. If you'll kol rucha shebo ayom noishusbo and mazisa noisim come, it's true that if it has a lot of wind, it's so strong it's not going to move it. However, kivan shenashba boruach toroimus. If you have a southern wind, a karto, it will uproot it. B'fachta yalpanav, it'll flip it over. V'oid el shezach kana litel him in a kulmus lichtabo sefer Torah. What do we use? We use this kana, this reed, to be able to write a Torah, to write Tanakh. That's what the Sofer uses. Tanabanan, and this is how we learn a beautiful thought. A person should be soft like a reed. And you should not be hard like cedar. So again, the greatness, the visual of this reed, which we use to write the Torah, is coming to tell us that that is what Torah is supposed to do. Torah is supposed to get us to be soft, to not be so hard, and also to be flexible, to kind of go with the flow. Masa Shabo Rabbi Lezer and Rav Shimon Mimigdal Gedor Mibeis Rabba Bahayi Rachav al Chamor. He was riding a donkey. Matayal Slas Nahar. He was going by the edge of the river. The Sameach Simcha Gedayla. He was very happy. Voisa Daitu Gasalov. He was feeling pretty good about himself. Meni Shalom Torah Harbe, because he learned a lot of Torah, and because of that he felt great, because Torah is Sameach, is B'kudei Hashem Yishar Mesamchei Leiv, as we continue to Chafam Bebeis. Nizdamlu Adam Echad, there was a person that encountered him. So Rashi says, Yesh Svarim Shekasav him Eliyahu Zachor L'Toiv. It was Eliyahu. Shahaya Mechor B'Yoser. And he looked very ugly, physically in appearance. Armelo Shomalecha Rabbi. So he said Shomalecha Rabbi to him. However, Hichsolo, he didn't respond. Armelo Reka, you empty one. Kama Mechor Oisa Ish. How ugly is this person? Shemakol b'nei ircha mechoroim k'moischa. Everyone in your city is probably as ugly as you. Armelo eni yodea, that much I don't know. Elalech, go, ve'emer uman, and once you go and tell the Creator, Shiasani, that made me. Kama mechor kli zeh shiasi. So why don't you tell God how horrible what He made? I come in the image of God. And therefore, that's not a good thing to say. Kivan shiyada ba'atzma shechata. Once he realized he said a horrible thing, Yomi ben Chamor, he came down from his donkey. V'nishtateach l'fanav, and he bowed down. V'armelo nanesi l'cha, moichali, forgive me. Armelo eni mochel l'cha, I'm not going to forgive you. At sheteach uman shiasani, until you go to the craftsman who made me. V'armelo kalma mechor kli zeh shiasisa. Why don't you tell him how ugly his creations are? So he started following after him until he reached the city. And all of a sudden, because this is such a great rabbi, people came to greet him. Rabbi, Mori, Well, miatim karin Rebbe. Who is this person you're calling this great teacher? The person that you're going with. He says an unbelievable sentence. Imze Rebbe, if this is your teacher, Al Yirbu Kamais Yisrael, let there not be many like him. Not a good person. So how can you say that? This is what he did to me. Forgive him. After all, for your sake, Karini Moichel, I'll forgive him. I hope he never continues to do this. Miyad Nichnas Rebbe Lezer ben Reb Shimon V'Darish. At that point, he realized his shortcoming, and he said, "The Adam Rach Kanavel he Kashik Erez. You shouldn't be hard like cedar, which is how I was." Lafikach Zacha Kanalitol Himena Kumas Lichta Boy Sefer Torah Tefillin and Mezuzos. So he adds that Torah Nevim Ksubim Tefillin and Mezuzos. But again, he was able to understand this message that it was not the right thing. That he felt that he was such a great Adam, a great person, that he had the right to speak however he wanted to speak. No, that's not Torah. The Torah is not was not used. We don't use erez. We use a kana. And that's why you have to be soft. You have to speak properly. You have to be respectful. It doesn't matter who you are, and it doesn't matter who you're speaking with. If you have a city which has these different tragedies, there's plague, there's walls falling down. When we're talking about these walls, Barios is a strong building. It's not weak. That's something which is not fit to fall. In other words, it has to be something in which it's unusual that's happening. But if it's just a 500-year-old wall that fell down, so it's just natural that's what happens. But if it fell down, even though it was a strong wall, it shows that it's more than just nature taking its course. So Hainin Brios, Hainin Shein Brios. So Hainu Brios healthy, Hainu Shein Ruias Lipol, not with the fall. Hainu Rois, Hainu Ruias Lipol. Now it almost sounds very similar. If it's a strong wall, it's not going to fall. Lotzricha de Nafel Machmas Guv Hayu. Maybe the reason why it fell is because of its height. Inami de Kaiman Agud Nahara. Maybe it's by the riverbank, and because of the proximity to the water, it could have corroded the wall and caused it to fall. Kihahu Ashisa Ru'ua. There was this shaky wall. Dahavi Ben Arda. Deloi Habichol of Rabbi Shmuel Tuta. They would never go by this wall. Even though it's been around for 13 years, Yom Echad Ikul Rav Adabarav al Hasim, he was there. So Amalei Shmuel Rav Neisumar Nakiv. Let's go around that wall. Amalei Lotzrachina. We don't need to. Ha'inna. After all, the Ikul Rav Adabarava Bahadon. We have this great rabbi with us, the Nafish Sechusei, and so many miracles and Sechusim he has. Therefore, Avlo Mistapino, we have no reason to be afraid it's going to fall on us. Rav Huna Havileyahu Chamra Bahu Beisa. So he had this donkey in his house, Ri'ua, which was weak, Uboy Lifnuye, and he wanted to remove it. He wanted to remove it. So L'Rav Adabarava Hasam Mashki B'Shamta Ad Depanya. So he basically kept him learning over there until he was able to remove his donkey. Basically, again, because of all of the schusim of Rav Adabarava, he kept him in that house, which was probably going to fall soon, so that he, based on his schus, the walls wouldn't fall. Basad and Nafak, after he took his donkey out, Nafal Besa, his whole house collapsed. Yirgish Rav Adabarava, and he figured out that this was the shtick that he did. Ikbani got upset. Several you should never stand in a dangerous place. The Yermer, oh, that's okay. A miracle happened. Maybe a miracle will not happen. Even if a miracle does happen, it ends up taking away from your schusim. So Rav Chanan Mikra Dechsiv Katonti Mikol Chasad Mikol Emes. Yaakov was saying in his tefillah when he knew Esau was coming with 400 men, he says that perhaps the reason why I should be afraid is because all of the great things that you've done for me, all the chesed that you've done for me, is going to detract from my schusim. So my havi ubdi de Rav Ada Barava. What exactly was the happening with Rav Ada Barava? And that's what schus did he have that all these great things were happening? So Kihad Yitmar Shoil Talmidav es Rab Zer Miyamil Rav Ada Barava against Rav Ada Barava. Bama Rachde Yomim. How do you have a length of days? How do you have a Richa Yomim? And it's always fascinating. The Gemara never says, how do you have a long life? Because there's a difference between having a lot of years and having a lot of days. The difference is that instead of focusing on years, which has to do with quantity, the language of the Talmud, the Gemara, is Richa Yomim, which is days. In other words, every day is valuable, which is quality years. So how does a person achieve quality years? So he gives the following advice. He says, Omelahem, miyomai, my entire life, likpadeti b'toich besi. I never got angry in my home, which means that I was able to create an environment which focused on shalom bayis. Which obviously you can understand that living so many hours and interacting with with people that you love in your home, it adds to the quality of life. And I never literally walked in front of someone who was greater than me, which basically means that I never acted bigger than I really was. In other words, I kept to who I truly was as a person. I never had thoughts of Torah in a dirty place. In other words, I was able to control my mind. I had complete control, not over just my actions, but even my own mind. Wherever he went, he always had Torah with him. He always had his tefillin on him. He never fell asleep in the base medrash. He took advantage of learning Torah, and he didn't just fall asleep, even for a small amount of time, which means he valued his time. V'loi sasti b'takalos chaverai, and never rejoiced over the downfall of my friend. In other words, I never had anger or negative feelings. V'loi karasi l'chaveri b'hachi noisai. I never called my friend by a derogatory nickname, v'yarmula b'chani chasai, by a surname or a last name. Again, if it's something which is disrespectful, that I never did. Amrule Ravel Rafram Bar Papa Lemulan Mar Bahani Mile Milyasa Dahavi Avid Rav Huna. Tell me some of the great things about him. Sarmale Bianukase Lo Dekirna. When he was young, I don't know. I don't really know much about when he was young. Bisibuse, when he was older, Dekirna. That I know. The whole Yoima de Eva, whenever it was like a cloudy day, Havi Mafkinle Be Guharka de Dahava. He would go out in these this golden wagon. Rashi says Teva Tuya Ba'agala. It was some type of box hanging on this wagon. But Sayer Wakule Masa, and he used to inspect the entire city. The whole Shisa Dahavius Riasa. Any wall that he saw was weak, that was probably going to fall soon, Havit Sasole, he actually would knock it down. Banila. If it was impossible for the people themselves, the owners of these walls, to rebuild it, he would build it himself. They would build it. If it was possible. The ilo after banila ihu mididei. He would build it with his own funds. The whole panya demali Shabbatah, on every Friday, Havi Mishadish Shluch L'Shuk, he would send a messenger to the marketplace. The whole Yarka, any vegetable, and the vegetables would spoil, the Havi Fayish L'Ginoi that was left over in the garden, Zavinle, he would buy it, the Shedli Lanar, and he would just immediately take and throw it away in the garbage, throw it into the sea. So, in fact, the Gemara, why is that a good thing? Would have been better. He should give it to the poor. Why would he throw it away? Zimnin the samcha the taihu v'asula mizbin. What happens in the event that there is no food? There are no leftovers. So if people know every single week they rely on this person buying all the vegetables and giving it to them, and all of a sudden 1 week there's no vegetables, they're going to be hungry. So he didn't want people to have to rely on him. So it's the fact that Gemara evolutionary lebehema. So he's given to animals. Savar ma'achel adam in machil lebehema. When it comes to food which is fit for a person, you don't give it to an animal, which is question 6. Ma tam de in machil and machil adam lebehema. So Rashi gives two answers why. Either mishum bizui oichlin, because it's a disgrace to the food. Hashem is giving you beautiful food in this world, and you're showing a lack of respect by giving it to an animal. Inami mishum dechasa Torah l'maynim shel Yisrael, that the Torah has mercy and compassion on the funds of Jews. The Zarko Nahar, he threw into the river, the Hoyachel Makam Acher, and it would float to another place. Other people would find it, and they would end up eating it. Kach Shamati. So, again, according to the second shot, there's no issue about Tashchas, so he basically threw it into the sea, and he knew that some people would find it. Okay, so it's an interesting shot. Says the Gemara, so again, v'lo klal. So why would he buy it? So nimsas machshil la'asad lavoi. It would be a problem in the future. Basically, what that means is that they'll end up maybe not having as much food. They're going to say, you know what, we have too many vegetables, and there won't be enough food. So therefore, that's why he did this. And if there was extra, he would just throw it into the sea. It says that when he would have, let's say, medicine, which was costly, he would put in like a jug, the toliwe besifa de besan. He would put it by his house, by his door of his house. The and he would call the boy lesiv lishkal. Anyone who needs this medicine can come and take it for free. Right? This is free medication. The ikad the army milsa de shivta havi. There was shivta, Rashi's minhag shadim. There was some type of demon, a shade called shivta. Havi gomer v'havi mana kuz demaya, and he used to have this water jug. The dolly lane was all filled up with water. If you ever call this anyone should come and wash their hands. Taking. So this is referring to, as Rashi says, Mazikin will come misha oichel when he eats ve'enu noitel yadav, and he doesn't wash his hands. So as brought down Masechtas Yoma, that there was this demon called Shivta, and the way to counter its power is by making sure that you wash your hands before you eat. When a person would break bread and eat, they would go to his house. He would go to the house. Anyone who wants to come, help yourself. Right? He basically had a free soup kitchen in his house. So Amar Rava, reflecting upon this, said, "Kol matzina mikayimna." I would be able to do all the things that was mentioned. Levar maha. I can't do this. I can't invite whoever wants can come to my house freely. That I can't do, as we see in Chaf Aleph and Aleph, mishum denafishi b'nei chela d'machuza, because there were many aniyim in his town, and therefore it would be impossible for him to be able to make accommodations to be able to help all of those people. Okay, we're going to stop here. We missed question 5. Question 5, Ketzad din Roshim Mikras Halol of Racha. Echa Yashva Bedad Haisa Ki Almana. So it's like an Almana, like a woman whose husband went to Medina Siyam is coming back. Statiaschem Nivazim Shvelim. So we're low. In other words, we're not going to be like tax collectors. We're not going to be getting these types of jobs. It says Rashi, She'enim nasim muchanim m'shaytri ha'am mishum shehem nivozim u'shvelim. Okay. Fine. Let's see. TA 8. Al elu mapoyles isa bebraisa de'ein masrin. Which types of walls do you not cry out for? So if they're already weak walls, or if they're brios, they're brios lipo, they're about to fall, and it says machmas govaihu because they're high, or the kaimana gud nahara because it's by the river. Okay, you saw that on. Okay, fine. TB9. I got this one completely wrong. Almi darshu chazal sapasik nemanim pitzi oihev netarti nishikoi saine. So I totally drew a blank. So he says oihev is the achi hashiloini who gave the curse of the reed, and saine is Bilam. Adkan.